Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for March 29th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savaranski. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Right Side VP. Sweet 16 Part 2 tonight. Elite 8 over the weekend. Major League Baseball opens with a bang. Let's get it started right off the bat, Teddy. And usually it's the defense is behind the offense. It's not hitting weather yet, Teddy. Major League Baseball sets an opening day record with 47 blasts out of the park. And some interesting stuff here. If you're betting overs, if you're betting grand salamis, Teddy, some interesting stuff took place there right on that hard line.
Yeah, exactly. Opening day and grand salami falls right in the middle. Of course, the grand salami, the total of all runs scored in all MLB games. It bounced between 123.5 and 124.5, closed 123.5, lands on 124 for the game after that 16-run late game as the Mariners knocked off the Red Sox. But not a great day for sportsbooks here in Las Vegas, I'll tell you that. You know, DeGrom under, and now 24-4 in the first 5 innings over his last 28 starts. The Yankees cover on the run line. The Astros, the Phillies, the Dodgers. You know, that Mariners win against the Red Sox probably saved books from a parlay disaster on opening day. But great day, you know. It's nothing better than daytime baseball, something that we have absolutely none of on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the problem. We're going to get a little bit of rant a little bit later in the show on that, but some interesting stuff yesterday, Ted. You're right. Chris Sale opens up to a lead. Looks like the night game's going to go the way of the public with Chris Sale. That one goes up in flames. The Phillies, even though they won 10-4, Teddy, my Philadelphia Phillies fans always hold up their end of the bargain. Couple strikeouts early from Bryce Harper. Gets the booze. And the one thing, Teddy, that I do want to ask you a question of, because sometimes we just don't know how long these pitchers are going to go early in the season. They're not stretched out. We talked about it yesterday. DeGrom was sensational through 6. He leaves the game and it's 1-0. And automatically, I'm thinking in my head, Teddy, they did this so many times as DeGrom last year. Leaves the game, only score 1 run, 2 runs, but they're able to pull that game out. Talk about some early betting techniques, Teddy, when you have these starting pitchers, because we saw Max go up directly yesterday with DeGrom. You know, they might not go 7, 8, or 9, but they can give you 6 strong. First 5 might be a way to look at it for some of these guys.
Absolutely. And particularly when we're talking about the very beginning of the season, the first timer through the rotation, you're not going to see a lot of pitchers get stretched out, let's say the way Justin Verlander did yesterday and threw 102 pitches. A lot of guys on fairly tight pitch counts early. So if you want to get involved with just the starters, of course, you look at the first 5 inning lines. Heck, you've been doing that with DeGrom for the last year plus. You're making a lot of money with the Mets and a lot of money with the unders.
Getting to some Thursday hardcourt action, some interesting games to say the least yesterday. A sensational game we'll get to in just a few moments there between Purdue and Tennessee. But the offense left a lot to be desired, Teddy. When we saw lines yesterday coming out, 118, 117.5, 119 for Oregon, and then we flipped it over to the late game last night, Texas Tech and Michigan. Sometimes I had to make sure I had to update my clicker a few times through the computer saying, there's no way it's only 10-10 with 7 minutes to go in this game.
There was most assuredly a way it was only 10-10 with 7 minutes to go in the first half in that ball game, and that's because we're talking about, in both of these contests, we're talking about elite defensive teams. You know, the Michigan-Texas Tech game was, if you're a coach, you want to teach your team how to coach defense, I would put a film on that game. I think Texas Tech was remarkable. They, held Michigan to an all-time low in first half points, an all-time low in tournament points. The Red Raiders defense is why they are Final Four/championship contenders going into the Elite 8. And as for the other ugly game, Virginia and Oregon, when the Cavs aren't hitting shots, they're not pretty to watch in any way, shape, or form. However, defensively, they shut down Oregon down the stretch. The Ducks had a 4-point lead with 5.5 minutes left. Only scored 4 points the rest of the way. And that, my friends, this is what Virginia's defense is capable of doing. That's why the Cavs are where they are in the Elite 8, despite struggling repeatedly throughout the first 3 rounds of the tournaments. Defense can carry you, and that's exactly what happened with Virginia last night.
Teddy, watching that Purdue game, which ended up going to overtime, it's NCAA basketball. Kids get hot, kids get cold. You saw Purdue open out to a nice lead in that game. Tennessee closes. It looked like Tennessee was going to hang on in that game. And the closing line, sitting right around that 1.5, looks like it was going to close as a Tennessee winner, inbound underneath 3 ball. Did you think that was a foul last night on that final play to send it to overtime?
I don't think that was the type of foul I would have called to decide a game. I'll put it that way. That being said, the refs will blow whistles in the final minute. It's what they're trained to do. It's what they're used to doing, and it's what they did last night. Was it a foul? Wasn't it? Well, if you want to be sure, stay the heck away from the guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he does jump into him, which led to believe any bit of contact because, as you know, Teddy, the referee is going to be their point of focus is the shooter because it's the final second of the game. Any contact, they're probably going to blow that whistle. But I thought it was interesting on the inbound pass, Teddy. Should have taken over 5 seconds at that point, but Calamity down the stretch still had a chance in overtime. Purdue seals the victory in that game. Also, take a look at some of the other games last night. The Zags came out right away, Teddy. Looked like the better team from jump. Held Florida State at arm's length for most of the way. Got a little bit tedious there in the last, 4 to 5 minutes where Florida State closed within 4 points, but a late run by Gonzaga puts that game away 72-58. One thing I want to ask you about last night, Teddy, because we'll talk about it a little bit later in a little bit of a rant and rave, but looking at these games, especially on the East Coast, Oregon, obviously a West Coast team coming east. How about the late start for Virginia? I mean, tipping off, look, they're going to play games sometimes at 9 o'clock in the ACC, but this game tipped off at after 10:30. Taking a look at when you're betting some of these games, does that ever enter in your mind? Say, hey, look, Oregon's used to this. Their body clock should be fine, and maybe Virginia's a little bit later. Could that have maybe added into some of the woes for Virginia shooting?
I'm not convinced that the start time had a ton to do with that for the Cavs. And look, Virginia's the type of team, what'd they miss? They missed like 14 out of 15 at one point in the first half when Oregon had, I'm not going to say taken control of the game, but when Oregon pulled out to a lead. But Virginia is the type of team that plays enough defense, that rebounds well enough to withstand a cold shooting stretch. When it comes to the NCAA tournament starting times, look, it is what it is. As a handicapper, you deal with it. As a bettor, you deal with it. As a fan, you deal with it. As a player, you deal with it. We are talking about 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. I think they can handle staying up past their bedtime every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Ratcheted up pressure, obviously, being in the tournament. Kyle Guy, one of the best three-point shooters in ACC history, hitting over 45% of his threes in conference play. Can't seem to find the bottom of the bucket. If he starts getting hot and heating up, watch out. Virginia could make a nice little run here. Overnight line movers, Teddy, SBRodds.com, the best place on the internet to check all of those line movements. They're moving 24/7, including this game, Teddy. At the opening bell, outlets opened around 160 in the UNC Auburn game for a total. Now sits 5 points higher. Now, very rare that you will see in our new gambling environment that we have. Coaches may be tipping their hands, Teddy, on these?
I love it. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, when the coach says bet the over, I'm going to bet the over. And that's exactly what Bruce Pearl said earlier in the week. He was on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt on Monday night. He was asked about the meeting of the two teams, and here's his quote. I would just take the over. That's all I'm going to say. North Carolina runs off of makes and misses. Auburn runs every chance they get. The coach is saying we're going to push pace. The Tar Heels want to push pace. You can understand why this total has been bet up. And we have finally seen some buyback at 165, 165 and a half. Some of the wise guys have come in and said, all right, this is high enough for this total. Obviously, if one of the two teams gets out to a big lead, they'll likely try to slow the pace. So bettors who are looking for the over, better hope it's a competitive game because the Tar Heels pull away, or if the Tigers pull away, the team with the lead is going to try to slow it down.
Yeah, we're going to get some tempo in this game early on for sure in that. But it was just kind of interesting to see Bruce Pearl on that interview. There's a nice 2-minute clip that I believe SportsCenter was retweeting around where it's basically saying, hey, you're going to get some high tempo in that game. Sure, Scott, take the over. It's great to hear. We're going to get this out nationally, Teddy, day by day, especially here at that betting show. And also with sportsbookreview.com. Portland total rises early Friday morning. Offshore markets open at 232.5, Teddy, and continue to rise. Currently seeing the Trailblazers and the Hawks +3, total of 234.5. Moneyline split of -150 +130.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of over money coming on Portland in their first game without Jusuf Nurkic, but they played a Bulls team that really didn't bring much to the table that night, missing multiple starters from a lottery squad. So the pace never got pushed. But what we're seeing is a market's reaction to Enes Kanter at center versus Jusuf Nurkic. And obviously, when you're talking about season-long stats, that's where the starting total is going to be. When you talk about the adjustments to those season-long stats, that's where the movement's coming. That's an Enes Kanter at center, all offense, no defense. Big difference from the guy he's replacing in Nurkic.
Tonight, Teddy, Major League Baseball will take a look at some line movers here. The Dark Knight, if you don't know who that is Matt Harvey. Now getting some money, opened up as a dog and now turns into a favorite here in early morning action on Friday. The Angels and the A's getting plus 107 currently right now, a total of 8.5. If you're looking at Matt Harvey and you are a fly ball pitcher, that's a little ballpark to be in out there in Oakland, Teddy.
Sure. And I mean, the money here, I think, is every bit as much against Marco Estrada as it is on Matt Harvey. Harvey signed the $11 million free agent contract. Estrada only $4 million to go to Oakland. And, well, he pitched like a guy that was about worth 1/3 of Harvey last time out. We're talking about a pitcher in Estrada who gave up 60 dingers the last 2 years in Toronto. Now he's pitching in Oakland, gave up a couple of dingers against in the opening round series where they played in Japan. And again, he didn't give up a ton of hits, but he gave up the dingers. And that's a big concern, obviously. When you're playing an Angels lineup that didn't hit yesterday, the market's expecting to hit a fair bit better today.
Teddy, watch what you bet right here on That Betting Show, and all eyes are going to be on the Sweet 16 second half tonight, heading into the Elite Eight over the weekend. The SEC versus ACC in KC tonight. Auburn versus UNC, minus 5.5. The Tar Heels come out as the favorite. Total, as we just talked about a few moments earlier, 165. Moneyline split plus 190, minus 230. If we take a look at some of the action here, Auburn is 18-14 in all-line games this year. 5-2 against the spread on neutral court. 5-1 against the spread, coming in hot in March. UNC throughout the season making their backers money. 21-11 against the spread on the season. 18-10 against the spread as a favorite. 3-2 on neutral court, but 5-2 also in March. We're going to get a fun, entertaining game. Probably not like we saw 3 out of the 4 games last night, Teddy. We'll get some tempo tonight.
Oh yeah, we should get a lot of tempo tonight. Tempo, the lifeblood of that UNC offense. The Tar Heels, 5th in the country in shortage average length of possession. They push the tempo off opponents' makes. They push the tempo off opponents' misses. That certainly speaks to an up-tempo game against Bruce Pearl's squad, who wants to run at every opportunity. Now, there's a big difference in how these two teams score. North Carolina is primed to dominate the low post in this ballgame. They are going to get good looks from in the paint. They're going to take the ball to the hole. And if things go well for Roy Williams' squad, they're going to get easy looks. They're going to get ample and one opportunities. They're going to dominate the offensive glass. They're going to win the rebounding battle by margin, and they'll run away with this game. All that being said, Auburn is a live by the 3, die by the 3 type of team. And this is a type of game where those threes could well be contested. But Bruce Pearl's squad, let's not understate what they've been doing for the last month and a half. And really, I mean, this is a squad that had one mid-season slump. They were real good early. They've been real good late. And of course, when you're talking about this point spread range, you're going to have to deal with the final minute or two. Auburn, one of those teams, if they're trailing, they're capable of hitting a couple of shots down the stretch to make Tar Heels backers sweat a little bit.
No, you're exactly right on that. The 3-point variance is always the key, especially heading down, because, Ted, as we've seen time and time again, if you're hot from 3-point land, there's nothing the other team can do. If those 3 balls are going down, it should make it interesting. But I always like the vantage point that you give if UNC is, because we're not really looking at the 5.5. You're saying to yourself now, well, if we're down 8 left and you get that wide open 3 with 5 seconds to go, it goes down, could be a cover for you. All ACC clash in Washington, D.C. on Friday night. Virginia Tech and Duke going to lace them up. Duke favored by 7, total of 143. Moneyline split plus 275, minus 340. Virginia Tech comes in, Teddy, 17-15 against the spread in all lined games. 3-5 against the spread as a dog. 6-2 on neutral courts, but only 3-3 here in the month of March. Now, Duke, 18-18 against the spread on the season. 16-17 as a favorite. 4-6 against the spread on neutral court. And how about this? Only 2-6 in the month of March, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big bandwagon for Duke. They've been the public team in college basketball basically all year. And right now, they're struggling to cover some numbers. And the markets are reacting to that, obviously, with this total, with this point spread sitting at 7 right now, despite, I mean, let's call it what it is. The Ty Outlaw situation for Virginia Tech, that is an ugly distraction. And the one thing I don't want from teams is, and I don't know if you heard the story, Outlaws out in California in the first round. And some police officer smells marijuana smoke and gets the warrant and knocks down the door, and they find weed in the apartment. I don't know how many people he shares it with. Kids in California, oh, you're on the hook for the weed that we found in your house. But it looks like he's going to play. That's still a distraction. Now, obviously, you get Justin Robinson back for Virginia Tech, and that's a big, big impact return from injury. The starting point guard for the first half of the season. What do you have? 29 minutes against Liberty, 13 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 rebounds. Certainly had an impact in that game. I expect him to have an impact in tonight's game. But we talk about the three-point variance. Duke, barely 30% from beyond the arc for the season. We saw those issues shooting the three-pointer on full display in the lucky win against UCF. And in terms of if you're not Zion or Cam Reddish or RJ Barrett, you haven't really done anything for Duke in this tournament. The supporting cast is what the Blue Devils need to step up tonight against a Virginia Tech team that they're not going to go without a fight. And I can tell you, if you ask me which game is going to go back and forth across a number in the final minute with somebody hitting a three and somebody hitting some free throws, boy, this game sure feels like that kind of contest, doesn't it, Donnie?
Yeah, Virginia Tech, I mean, they can stroke the three. And you're right. In the last meeting, let's not forget, when they did play Virginia Tech picked up the victory. No Zion in that game, Teddy. Also no Robinson. So you're getting both of these guys back. And the one thing I can respect out of Virginia Tech with the situation with Outlaw, he gets caught out in California. But they do the smart thing, Teddy. They wait 4 days before they drug test him. And of course, after the 4th day, he passed that drug test. Good move by Virginia Tech. Shows, Teddy, their commitment to excellence in winning this ball game. Let's take it to the Major League Baseball diamond. Astros and Rays round 2 yesterday. Astros come up with an opening day victory, knocking off Blake Snell. Taking a look at this game, the Rays now up to plus 127 with a total of 7. But an interesting part of this game, the Rays are putting their Astros old friend Charlie Morton on the mound to try to even up the series today.
Yeah, they are. I'll tell you what. One of the things that I look for early in the season, I want teams coming out of the gate hitting. And when you see the way the Astros were hitting the baseball yesterday, Blake Snell hadn't allowed 5 earned runs since last May. It was also the only game all season he gave up 3 dingers. Well, that happened yesterday against this Astros team. So you have Garrett Cole on the hill, 15-5, a 2.88 ERA last year. He's dominated the Rays in his career. You can understand perhaps why Houston is an attractive choice today, even though Charlie Morton had these monster numbers, 29-10 over 2 seasons with the Astros. $30 million the Rays were willing to give him this past offseason. Understand that. Certainly understand that Rays bullpen is one that we want to be betting on. But when it comes to lineups right now, I trust the Astros in a way that I do not trust Tampa Bay. That tells me if I'm playing, I'm laying with the favorite, not taking with the underdog.
There you go. Off the mic segment today. This is always my favorite part of the time of the day, Teddy, because I get to rant a little bit and be that, you're just an old curmudgeon old man, Donnie, sometimes. And you're right. Who are the schedule makers, Teddy? What are we doing here? Yesterday, you feed me baseball all day long. Philadelphia Phillies, I'm excited. I can watch games all during the day. At night, I get the Sweet 16. I'm ready today. I'm like, man, I can't wait for the Phillies to get back on the diamond. And they're not playing. And I said, okay. Well, I'll sit here in the afternoon. I'll watch a couple opening weekend series during the day, and I can really enjoy it. No games. Then let's take a look at the NCAA Sweet 16 last night, Teddy. I'm laying in bed when they're tipping their games off. What gives here?
I'm telling you. I said the same thing yesterday. Just move to Vegas. You have no problems with the starting times. The only problem with you have the starting times in Vegas is they start too early on the weekends. You're like, oh, shoot, I can't go drinking on Friday night the way I used to. That's it. I'm telling you. The baseball, I agree with your assessment that I would love to see daytime baseball again today. I love to see daytime baseball on the reg, but that's not the way it works. That's not the way MLB financials work. Guess what? The TV audience is at night, and that's what matters. It's all a dollars and cents decision. NCAA running tournament games late. Why? Dollars and cents. MLB running only night games. Why? Dollars and cents. If you want more day games, figure out a way to get more people to watch during the day so that the leagues can make their money with earlier starts. In the current system, in the current format, you either move out west or you deal with it. I moved out west.
Yep, more people watching the games, more people watching that betting show. We got you out of here today on a Friday in under 20 minutes or less on that betting show for March 29th, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. On Monday, Teddy and I will go over all the carnage of the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, Major League Baseball, and set you up for the Final Four next weekend as we head for a beautiful summer here on SportsbookReview.com. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, Right Side VP. We'll be back at it again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, folks.